Jones board this ferry. It just departed port of Fukuoka, headed to Busan, and you can see out behind us just here sunrise and the port city just behind us as we're steaming off. I think it's about a three-hour sail, and we'll be in. We departed at just after 7, so we'll be in at Busan around about 10:30, and then I'm getting on the KTX heading up to Seoul. But it's the 12th of February, which makes it the 43rd day in this 100 Days to Harvest, exploring the friendship between Australia and Korea. And I wanted to pick up the story here on this ferry between Japan and Korea. Again, not because it's leaving Japan, and you note the Japanese flag behind me there, and not to make any comment on the relationship between Korea and Japan, which I think is important to understand in terms of becoming more empathetic to a Korean perspective. But I wanted to talk about an aspect of history which I think is relevant in terms of us Australians forging a stronger friendship with Koreans. I think, like for example, learning language, enjoying another person's food, as in not their food itself, but appreciating their national food and appreciating their culture are all important things in terms of establishing rapport with other people. And history, to a certain extent, does the same thing. And the reason this chapter of history I want to talk about is I think important is outside the front of the Australian Embassy in Seoul, in Gwanghwamun, there's a statue of a guy called Shin, who was an Admiral, who fought pretty much in the campaigns during the war between Japan and Korea and China between 1592 and 1598. His engagement in those fights pretty much resulted in decisive victories to Korea, and arguably saved the country from being sublimated into Japan. And I'm using this book from Samuel Hawley, The Imjin War, as the source. It's a great book if you want to get some good reading about Korean history. It's a good place to start. It's called The Imjin War, and it talks about the situations affecting Korea at the end of the 16th century. The reason it's relevant to this journey is in 1592 and then throughout the next couple of years, but particularly then again in 1597, the Japanese sailed not from this port we just come from, but just further to the south of where we are, at a place which was then called Nagoya, not to be confused with the other Nagoya, which is presently a large city in Japan. But today I think it's called Hakata. I might have the pronunciation wrong, but I'm pretty sure I do. But it's basically just to the south of this place by about 30 kilometres, and they sailed from here to Busan. So it's interesting sailing under the Japanese flag, destined to Busan, which was the initial route of the Japanese fleet seeking to conquer Korea as a means of getting into China and then conquering China. The reason I think it's important is the statue being so close to the Australian Embassy. I think Shin's key influence in Korean history mean that there's good reasons for Australians to have some affinity with his person, at least to understand him in a basic sense of where he fits into Korean history. I'll spare the history lesson now. Suffice to say, it's worth reflecting on what happened in 1592 and then the subsequent events through to 1598. Sailing from these waters, basically on the route we're taking to Busan, and the intervention of Eastern Shin. For that reason, I'm making a plug now for a couple of dinners I'll be running this year called the Eastern Shin Friendship Dinners, which basically will, use the pivotal character of Eastern Shin as someone who all people agree on as a great leader and a great military figure. The Japanese have high regard for Eastern Shin. They peg him higher than Lord Nelson, and a lot of the great Western commanders, Montgomery, and a lot of the other maybe lesser known Western commanders, particularly naval commanders, thought very highly of Eastern Shin. So just today, this episode looking at friendship between Australia and Korea, it's just an encouragement just to pick up a bit of knowledge. Don't need to have too much. Just the same with language. All you need is maybe about 10 words, and that's a good entry point. And with culture, you need to know some basics, but not to cripple yourself by trying to become too regimented with slavishly adhering to some cultural principles. But just a familiarity with things gets you a long way toward understanding another person. I think it's just common courtesy. But Eastern Shin, he's a figure I'll be speaking more about well after these 100 days to harvest, as a unifying point that Australia and Korea can find some common ground in. I'm going to sit back and enjoy this journey. In fact, I'm probably going to sit down and do a bit of work the next 3 hours, and heading to Seoul pretty much as soon as I get to Busan. Looking forward to speaking to you soon. Take care, guys.